Marathon Season 2 just got a full developer deep dive. New map, new shells, new guns, and new progression overhaul that completely scraps the faction upgrade system. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I came into this suspecting a by the number seasonal content drop. Another map, maybe a shell, done. But after breaking this down, Bungie just showed their real hand on what the real Marathon seasonal model looks like. And it is not a copy and paste of Destiny 2's seasonal grind. So I'm cutting the cap. Alright, so now that we got that out the way, let's talk about Night Marsh. This map is doing something interesting. The dev said it straight. They want to recapture that week 1 magic every single season. That feeling where you don't know what's valuable yet, where every corner could be dangerous or a jackpot. And the way they're doing this is by leaning hard into atmosphere. Night Marsh is dark, oppressive, unsettling. You get a flashlight by default the second you infield. Here's where the design gets smart. See, they're forcing a constant risk-reward calculation. So do you stick to the lit areas where you're safer but completely visible to anyone hiding in the shadows? Or do you go dark, use your large vision, and become the threat? And this is the kind of stuff that separates Marathon from every other extraction shooter. See, it's not just about loot, it's about tension. Devs even use the word creepiness factor, digital psychosis, hallucinations. Voices in your head making you question, is it real? And yeah, you knew this was coming. The anomaly is escalating. Now, starting with something I know a lot of you care about, the loot chase. In Season 1, maps like Outpost had to work your way through and earn access to treasure loot. And Night Marsh is taking the same DNA and building their own vision of it, except they're calling it Upper Complex. You got elevators and staircases that were previously closed off. Season 2 opens them up. This is the observation deck, the science lab where the UESC has been studying the anomaly. And in Bungie's own words, it's going to be the most heavily guarded area in the map. But let me be very clear about what this means. Juicy loot behind heavy security. See, this is going to be the master test. Can you get in? Can you survive? Can you extract? And if you're coming back for Season 2, this should be your target from day one. Not the meta, not the new guns. Raid Upper Complex. Now the downside is getting into the Upper Complex is going to be a war zone, and that's where the new Sentinel shell comes in. It's a new defensive shell, it's optimized for controlling space, and man, the tool set on this thing is actually scary. You've got a defense system that literally shoots grenades out the air. You take explosive damage, big buff to your resistance, increase reload speed and rated speed when you're surrounded. And then there's the snare mine. See, players in Season 1 got really good at closing the gaps. Shotguns right in your face. However, the Sentinel throws down the snare and they're stopped dead in their tracks. Oh boy. But the piece that makes this actually interesting is the tracking. See, the Sentinel can deploy a motion tracker that slides up from their sleeve. So anyone moving around shows up as a blimp on your HUD. You know exactly where the threat is coming from. Now this shell is not for aggressive rushers. This is for players who want to lock down a zone, control the engagement, and make the enemy play your game. Alright, so let's talk about the guns. 2 new additions. First, the KKV, small arms SMG, integrated suppressor. Bungie describes it as an excellent at mowing down anything immediately right in front of you. Shotgun rushers, watch out. Here's what I find interesting. They're giving a suppressed SMG as a counter to the close range meta. Now that tells me they saw the data, because people were getting rushed hard, and instead of nerfing shotguns into the ground, they're adding a tool. Second gun is the D54 battle pistol, integrated red dot optic. They're positioning this as a 1v1 strafe dueling weapon. Snipers not cutting it at a close range, so you pop out the D54 and you're ready. So the weapon sandbox in Season 2 is giving you options. The KKV for CQB defense and the D54 for mid-range duels. But also do me a favor and drop me a comment. Which one of these two are you slotting first? KKV or D54? Drop it below. Now starting with the thing that actually surprised me the most. The Cradle system. Season 1 tied everything to faction upgrades, and me personally, I hate it, and I told you guys that several times. Because let's say you wanted extra melee damage, you had to rank up Arachne. Want something else? Different faction. Different grind. Cradle completely scraps that. Single screen, all your runner shell stats in one place. So you can distribute points however you want. So let's say you want to be the fastest runner on entire city. Hey, go all in on agility from the start. And the Cradle XP comes from smashing down gear you don't care about. Batch select, convert, done. And here's the kicker I really love. There's no penalty for resetting. Pull everything out of one stat, dump it in somewhere else, Hey, complete freedom. And this is a direct response to Season 1 feedback. See, they heard the complaints about the faction grinding, about being locked into builds, about the wall. But let me be very clear. See, this is just not about a quality of life change. This is Bungie signaling that the Marathon seasonal model is going to be fundamentally different from Destiny. So no FOMO, no time-gated power, just player choice. And they also confirmed they're reworking contracts, removing the throw yourself against the wall frustration, material costs, faction reputation, solo versus crew earning. And they said the goal is that most Marathon players can actually max out their faction upgrades and hit VIP ranks. So if you played Season 1 and bounced off because the grind was too much, this is Bungie directly addressing you. So now that I got that out the way, let me zoom out, because the seasonal reset, that's what they're calling the item rebalance. It's interesting for a different reason. They're taking a holistic look at every mod in the game, every mag, every optic, every chip. Implants are flipping, perk first, stats second now, rarity and drop rates are changing. Weapons you got used to seeing constantly might become rare. And this is a hard reset disguised as a seasonal update, and I think that's intentional. See, the dev said everyone gets a fresh start, zero to hero journey. So they want Season 2 to feel like a new game, not just new content. And honestly, from everything they've shown, I think they might be able to pull this off. So here's where I land. Marathon Season 2 is just not more Marathon. Bungie is using the seasonal model to fix the friction points that held Season 1 back. Faction grind, the progression walls, the loot chase, while adding a map that leads into what makes extraction shooters actually tense. So Night Marsh looks genuinely atmospheric, Sentinel gives defensive players an actual identity, the Cradle is straight up upgrade from faction grinding, and Upper Complex gives you a target worth chasing. However, here's the open question, and this is the one that matters, is whether the content volume is enough. One new map, 2 new guns, 1 new shell, a progression rework, that's the Season 2 package. Now, if you're expecting a Destiny 2 size seasonal drop, you're trolling yourself. This is a tighter, more focused model. The question is whether it keeps player engaged past the first 3 weeks. Also, Open Play Week starts June the 2nd through June the 9th on PlayStation 5, Steam, Xbox Series. So you're gonna get your hands on this thing pretty soon. So if this video entertained you or informed you, a like would be appreciated. And also, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and sub. It matters more than you think. And I'm out. And if you do want to see more Marathon breakdowns, I would suggest you watch this playlist next. Also, don't forget to like and sub. You guys have a great day. Peace.